regions, or I would say where the Amazon Web Services has its presence. Now there's a small change. Now this slide I just created a month ago. In India as well, there are 2 data centers. So all these orange circles, and you can see the numbers embedded within them. It shows the number of data centers in that particular geographical location. As of now, there are 13 different regions or geographical locations where the Amazon Web Services, they claim their presence, or they have the cluster of data centers, right? So this is how the map looks like. Now they are growing at a faster pace. Very soon they will have, so all these things that you can see, the white circles with green borders, these are the upcoming regions. Okay, so they are planning ahead and setting up more and more data centers across the globe so that they can have more customer base, more clients coming in, they can serve more customers, they can grow or achieve high business goals. So let's move forward now. So this is how the map looks like. So these are the 3 different categories: regions, availability zones, and the edge locations. The AWS Cloud operates in 33 availability zones with 12 geographic regions. Now instead of 12, it is 13 because now we have 1 in India. Around the world with 11 more availability zones and 5 more regions coming online throughout the next year. The AWS Cloud infrastructure is built around regions and availability zones. What is a region, by the way? It's a physical location in the world where we have multiple availability zones. If I'm saying what a region is, the simplest definition of a region is that a region is equal to a geographical location. Plain and simple. It's a piece of land on the globe where the Amazon Web Services claim their presence, and they have a cluster of data centers within the premises of that very region. So a region is equal to a geographical location. That's it. It's a geographical location where they have the data centers, and these data centers are called the availability zones. Right? Now, what are the availability zones? It consists of 1 or more discrete data centers, each with redundant power, networking, and connectivity housed in separate facilities. These availability zones are connected to each other with fast, private, fiber optic networking, enabling you to easily architect applications that automatically fail over between different availability zones without interruptions. Okay, so we just go back and just take a look at the AWS Member Console. Let me just sign on right now. Raj is saying he's facing the same issue again. Guys, are you still getting the audio cuts? Okay. Is it still no? Tony is saying no. Karthik and Raj is saying yes. It's better for Ashutosh. Okay for Azhar. Better than last time. Okay. Guys, I'll just move forward, just in case if the issue worsens, let me know. Okay, because in the worst scenario, if the issue still persists, we have to disconnect the session or I would say postpone the session, okay, because I don't want that. I'm just trying to showcase the concepts, but you're not able to grasp it properly because of these kind of audio lag issues. Okay, so I don't want to compromise on the quality. So I'm just logging into the Amazon Web Services or AWS Management Console. Now, once we sign on, at the top right corner, these are the 13 different or disparate or distinct regions for me to choose, right? So I discussed it yesterday. Within the premises of each region, I have a cluster of data centers, and each data center means that it is an availability zone. Okay. So over here, I've discussed this concept yesterday. If EU Central 1 is the region, if I append A, it becomes my first availability zone. EU Central 1 is my region. If I append B, it becomes my second AZ or availability zone. So each availability zone is equal to a data center. So if I just write it down, 1 AZ, which means availability zone, is equal to 1 DC, 1 data center. Okay. Now, what are the benefits you get out of it? Because the AWS, they boast about that, okay, they have so many data centers across the globe, they have regions, they have availability zones. But how these things will benefit you? First thing first, you get high availability through multiple availability zones. So you have the privilege to scatter across your different resources or back up your resources across different availability zones to achieve fault tolerance and high availability of your applications. Okay, so this is how we achieve the high availability through multiple availability zones. Second thing, you get the improved continuity with replication between the regions. So you can also replicate your resources across different regions. Also, it helps you to meet compliance and data residency requirements. For example, few companies like those companies are, I would say, financial institutions like American Express, ICICI Bank, Axis Bank, Citibank, American International Group. These are some of the reputed financial institutions or organizations, and they want that they should comply with the data residency requirements as per set up by the government. For example, let's suppose American Express is an American company or American banking institution. They may need to comply with certain government standards or requirements where they are bound to keep their customer database within the country in which the headquarters of their company is there. So they have to keep the customer database within the premises or the geographical location within the United States. They cannot migrate their data centers on, I would say, the databases in any other country. Okay, so they have to keep their data local in which their company's headquarters are. Okay, so if there are multiple geographical locations in different countries, it becomes easier for a banking or financial organization to comply with data residency requirements. For example, we had seen that India has a new region that was deployed just 2 weeks ago. This gives tremendous opportunity to ICICI Bank, Axis Bank, or different private banking institutions so that they can keep the Indian customers' data within India only. So they don't have to migrate their database in any other region. Also, geographic expansion. So if you are a multinational company and you have your customer or user base across the globe, it becomes easier for you to geographically expand your resources without any upfront financial investment or any time and effort. Okay? Because now you don't have to set up your data centers across the globe. Ashutosh is saying, how do you reach the page where we can see the availability zones? Ashutosh, if we just go back to the AWS Development Console, once you choose the preferred region, just go to the EC2 dashboard. Let me show you that. Just go to EC2 compute section. So this will take you to the EC2 dashboard. If you scroll down, you can see under the service health status, you can see the availability zones. So I was saying you can see 11 regions. So I'm just coming to that. Why you can see 11 regions? In actuality, they are 13, but 2 are missing. I'll let you know. Venkat, your question is, does high availability doubles your cost? Should we do high availability across regions or availability zone? Is there any difference in the cost? Venkat, I would say it can add to your cost or it cannot. It depends upon how you have deployed your entire infrastructure. For example, let's suppose today I decide that I should have 4 instances of 4 virtual machines, 4 VMs of 4 instances running in my entire infrastructure to support my web application. Now, there are 2 approaches to it. Either I can scatter, I can have 2 over here and 2 over here, so that if one of the availability zone goes down, I can still have 2 to support my application. There's a second approach to it. The second approach can be that I will have all the 4 instances in one of the availability zone. Now, if this availability zone goes down, there's a concept called auto-scaling. It is based upon the principle of elasticity. What auto-scaling will do, once this availability zone goes down, it will automatically launch 4 duplicate instances in my secondary availability zone. Right? So it all depends upon your approach. It may or may not add to your cost if you go with the higher availability options. Tony, regarding the slides, I'll discuss it later on. You don't have to take the screenshots. I'll share these slides with you guys. Okay. Azhar, you are saying, do we have the option to change the availability zone on our own? Yes, Azhar, we have. I'll show you that. Manjunath is saying, what's the distance between 2 data centers? Manjunath, there's no any exact documentation that what's the exact distance. Okay. Amazon Web Services never reveals the exact location of their data centers, nor they provide you the exact distance between that. I'm not sure, Manjunath. I can't tell you the approximation, because if I don't have the fact, I can't say that, because there's no documentation. Okay. See, Manjunath, might be some of the best practices they should be following regarding how much distance is there, but right now I don't have any insight what should be the exact distance. Okay. Guys, if the issue persists regarding the audio cuts, please feel free to let me know. All right. Now, over here, if you just open Google right now, give me 1 second over here. Just open, just go to Google and type in the following: AWS Global Infrastructure. So the first result that you will get, this is a page where you can see the entire details of your global infrastructure. It says the AWS cloud operates 35 availability zones within 13 geographical regions around the world, with 9 more availability zones and 4 more regions coming online throughout the next year. Now, over here, if you see, there are 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So these are the 11 different regions. But in actuality, the Amazon Web Services say they have 13, which means 2 are missing over here. Where are they? The 2 that are missing over here are, the first one is the AWS Gov Cloud. Let me just highlight that. This one. This Gov Cloud US region is purely intended to be used by US government, defense and research programs, and this is not used by the normal public or the organizations. This is logically and physically isolated from rest of the global infrastructure. Therefore, if you don't belong to US federal or its government agencies, you don't have access or you can't see this region in your list. This is both logically and physically isolated from the rest of the infrastructure. That's the first thing. The second region that is missing is this China Beijing region. As we are all aware, China has a very tight control or restrictions upon their internet usage. They don't expose their network to rest of the globe. So if you are a Chinese organization or individual, in that case you have to send up a form, put a request, and then the Amazon Web Services, after the verification, after you have the Chinese, any kind of, you can say, social security number or any kind of identification number, after the verification is done, then you get access to the China Beijing region. So you should belong to Chinese organization, or you should be a Chinese individual to get access to this region. So US Gov Cloud and China Beijing region, these 2 are missing. They are not intended to be used by the normal public. So in some special and exceptional cases, you get access to these 2 different regions. All right? Karthik, you're saying that you're facing the same problem again. Guys, are you getting the same issue, the same voice issues? Please let me know. Okay, it's fine for Ashutosh. Art is perfect, Venkat is saying. Cool. Karthik, I guess you have to log out and log back in again because other people are not facing any trouble right now. Okay. All right, so Shiva, your question is, do the users from this region will access other regions? They can, I would say, Shiva, they can, but if a client belongs to China region, he can use other regions, but these regions are restricted, but they can use other regions as well. Kuram, your question is, data can be moved between AZs? Can we move the data across 2 regions? Yes, we can. We can do that. All right. Now the third category that is over here is called the edge locations. If you scroll down and you just click on see detailed list of offerings at all AWS locations, and just click on this link, and this will take me to a page. When I scroll down, it says AWS edge locations. What are these edge locations? These are the AWS partnered data centers. We have to keep one thing in mind. These may not be owned by Amazon Web Services. These are some of the partner data centers. For example, this is in New Delhi in India. They don't have any availability zone in New Delhi, India, but now they have this edge location. Through these edge locations, they distribute their static and dynamic content, and they leverage or provide these three different services: CloudFront, Route 53, Web Application Firewall. So these are the three services that are being served through these edge locations. Edge locations are the locations where the Amazon Web Services, they may or may not have their presence, their own infrastructure. Okay, so they just deploy their edge locations so that these three different services can be rendered or served to their clients. Once I discuss the CloudFront, I'll go into the detail why we need the edge locations. But as of now, we just need to understand that these are the edge locations that help us to leverage these three different services. All right. Venkat is saying, why only three services? Because Venkat, other services are being served through the regions and availability zones. That's why. Okay. These three services, sometimes they can't be served through all the availability zones and regions. Therefore, they have the edge locations through which they provide these different services. Rest all services are already being given by the regions and availability zones. Okay. Venkat is saying, so these services are not always available in regions. Yes, of course, Venkat. These three services may or may not available in the regions. That's why we have the edge locations. But I would say that instead of having these services in the regions, this is more focused on the content delivery. Okay, once I discuss the CloudFront in the future session, that will be more clear. Okay. So if someone asks you, what are the three different categories of the global infrastructure? Regions. A region is equal to the geographical location, availability zone, which equals to a data center, and the edge location. Edge location is the partner data center through which the Amazon Web Services, they serve these three different services. Okay. Now let's jump over to our next topic of our EC2. Now I already discussed the free tier category yesterday. We have already created a billing alarm. Let's discuss our EC2. What is an EC2? EC2 stands for Elastic Compute Cloud. An EC2 provides the scalable computing capacity in Amazon Web Services Cloud, which means you can scale your entire infrastructure or architecture up or down based upon the patterns of the incoming traffic, time of day, and demand. This is based upon the principle of elasticity. The beauty of the auto scaling, or the beauty of the Amazon Web Services, is that you can take the risk. You can anytime grow or shrink your entire architecture based upon these three attributes. These three attributes are your patterns of the incoming traffic, time of day, and demand. For example, let's suppose that in a normal situation, you have 10 VMs, 10 virtual machines running. Now, as a festive season approaches, might be it's Christmas or Diwali, you see that there's a high spike in the traffic. So you have an e-commerce platform like Alibaba.com, Amazon.com, Flipkart.com, and you are running your web application upon these 10 different VMs or virtual machines. Now, as there is a high spike in the traffic, you can very well increase from 10 VMs to 20 VMs. Automatically. There is no manual intervention required. Of course, you have to configure some kind of thresholds. Based upon the thresholds, based upon the incoming traffic, any time of day or demand, it will automatically increase the number of virtual machines on your behalf. Now, the other end to it, the other part of this one is that let's suppose there's a high spike in the traffic, the number of VMs, they were increased, but now you can roll back. Let's suppose now the Christmas or the Diwali season is over and you are seeing that there's a dip in the spike in the traffic. Now you're not expecting a very high volume of the traffic. So in that case, you can roll back from 20 to 10 VMs automatically. This kind of thing you can never achieve in your traditional model, because the traditional model is based upon the principle of scalability, which means you add more resources, you can't roll back. But this is the principle of elasticity. Elasticity means it's flexible. What's an elastic? You can shrink it. Once you release it, you can expand it. Once you release the elastic, it shrinks back. It's the same thing over here. All right? So you can anytime increase or decrease the number of instances based upon the patterns of the incoming traffic, time of day, and demand. Pay-per-use model. So you pay only for what resources are being utilized by you and the number of instances. So this is a kind of, you can say, electricity-based of kind of model. It does not depend that how many appliances are at your home. Whether you have the fridge, I would say refrigerator, air conditioner, heater, it doesn't depend how many appliances you have. You pay for the number of units consumed. Right? It's the same thing over here. You pay by the number of hours you use your resources. If you shut down your virtual machines, if they're not running, you are not being charged. Plain and simple. It's a pay-per-use model. No upfront cost involved. EC2 eliminates the need for you to invest in huge upfront cost involved in purchasing the hardware. You don't have to buy the hardware, costly hardware like routers, switches, cables, and everything. You can deploy your applications in few simple clicks. You can launch as many virtual servers or instances as you want, configure the security and networking, and manage storage. So what I'll do is, without going into the slides in depth, I'll discuss the concepts of EC2. So once you go to the AWS Management Console, you have to select your preferred region. So I select North California every time. Once you select your preferred region, it's time for you to click on EC2 under Compute section. Now over here, Ashutosh, I'll just come to a question later on. Okay. Over here, this is called the EC2 dashboard. If you see on the top, it says 0 running instances. Give me 1 second over here. Let me see if we can just zoom in. Okay. It says 0 running instances, 0 dedicated host, 4 key pairs, and all this kind of thing, which means I don't have even a single instance running. Now, if I say instance, I can say an instance or an EC2 instance. This is equal to a virtual machine running in the AWS cloud. An instance is equal to a virtual machine. So what I do is I go ahead and I click on launch instance. Before I just click on launch instance, I need to see the service health of my region and the data centers within that. So this California region is operating normally as intended, and the same applies to the availability zones US West 1B and 1C in the Northern California. You can see there's a green check mark. Okay. If there's any maintenance scheduled, any maintenance scheduled, then you can see the scheduled events on the right side over here. Okay. But as of now, I can see that everything is up and running. Everything is fine. It's time for me to just go ahead and click on launch instance. Whenever you launch the instance, the first step that you have to follow is to choose an Amazon Machine Image or AMI. Now, what is that? An Amazon Machine Image or AMI is a template that contains the following things: operating system, application server, and applications required to boot your instance or to launch your instance. It's a kind of you can say ISO image. See, the thing is, why we need the Amazon Machine Image? Because if you want to install the operating system for your virtual machines that are running in a physical hardware or a physical host running in a remote data center, how you can go about install the operating system? You can't just physically go to the data center and install the OS. Therefore, you have to have a kind of a package or a solution that contains the operating system, application servers, and applications that are required to launch your instance. Amazon Machine Image or AMI are of two types: Linux-based or they can be Windows-based. On the top you can see we have different distributions of the Linux. We have for Amazon Linux AMI, Red Hat, SUSE, Linux, Ubuntu, and down below there are different flavors of Microsoft Windows Server. Okay, these AMIs are called the public AMIs because these are for the general public use. These are not the one that you create. Okay, these are called the public AMIs. Now, guys, let us come to a question later on. So these are called the public AMIs because these are the ones that are there, that are pre-configured for me. Anyone who has access to the AWS account can choose any one of these AMIs to boot his instances from. At the left-hand corner, we have My AMIs. My AMIs means that you have the privilege to create your own AMIs. Once we move forward, I will show you the procedure how you can create your own images to launch your instances from. So these are the public AMIs. On the left side, you can access My AMIs. Down below, you have AWS Marketplace. Now, this space belongs to trusted vendors like SAP, Zen, Microsoft, from where you can buy their own AMIs, your own AMIs or their own AMIs that have been created by them. So if you just go to the site, either you can just search for the AMIs from here, or you can just go to the site aws.amazon.com /marketplace. So over here, this is called the marketplace. Depending upon what kind of AMI or what kind of application you want to run, you can shop the AMIs by the categories. For example, databases and caching, business intelligence, financial services. For example, I can search for Cisco. So different vendors are selling their own custom-based AMIs over here. So depending upon what kind of applications you want to run, you can buy the AMIs from this place. Down below you have community AMIs. Now this space belongs to developer community, where people, they have created their own AMIs and they have posted it over here for free, or they have included a charge for that. It's a community effort. For example, you can also create your own AMIs and you can publish them over here. Now I have an AMI over here. I can just make it public. It's up to me. Okay. So community AMIs means that this space belongs to the developer community. The people, they can create their own AMIs. Even you and me can create our own AMIs, and we can publish them over here for free, or we can include a charge for that. Okay. So these are the different flavors or different spaces through which you can access your Amazon Machine Image or AMIs. Let me just take the questions right now. Venkat, your question is, can I choose my custom image with my version of choice and patch update of choice? Of course, Venkat, we can do that. You can build your own AMIs which contains your own updates, your patches, your services, your applications. Rangareddy, question is, what's the criteria to choose the AMI? See, there's no criteria. It all depends what kind of application you want to run upon your virtual machine or the instance. Raj is saying he's facing the audio issue again. I'm not sure, Raj, what's going on. But guys, are you still facing the same audio issues? Tony is saying, can I replicate the snapshot of a machine on the cloud? Tony, I would say that it is not always possible. There are some kind of compatibility standards that we have to take care about. Okay, Ashutosh is saying pay per use. Does it mean that if my online application is hosted at a particular time, it is not being used by the user at some particular time? Ashutosh, pay per use model means that if your instances are running, it's not an application based, it's the infrastructure based. If your machines are running, then you're being charged for that. If you shut down your virtual machines, it is quite obvious that your application would not be available. In that case, you will not be charged. Kuram is saying you were discussing global infrastructure. All of a sudden you trigger to EC2 without discussing compute storage. Kuram, the thing is that I have to go as per the flow of the codes. Okay, so if you have some certain suggestions about compute and storage, I think that is not, these are the basic concepts that I expect that you should know. Okay. Venkat is saying, can I have a patch live running in situ with an update? Of course, Venkat, we can have that. So Kuram, regarding the compute and storage, please let me know what exactly you're looking for. Because during the EC2, we'll discuss all these kind of things, right? All right, so I'll just go ahead and choose the Amazon Linux AMI right now. And I just click on select. Now, these are called the instance types. Depending upon what kind of application you want to run on your instances and how much compute power, how much memory, how much GPUs your applications would require, you have to choose the instance type. Okay. Instance type means that it's a virtual representation of the underlying physical resources. For example, this T2.micro contains one vCPU. It's a 2.5 gigahertz of processor, Intel Xeon family, with 1 GB of memory. So depending upon what kind of applications you want to run upon the instances, what's your exact requirement, you have to choose the instance type. Right? So now, I'll just go ahead and click on T2.micro as my instance type. Now, with your free tier account, you have to choose T2.micro, because otherwise, if you're performing the lab sessions, if you choose any one of the instance types, you'll be charged for that. Venkat is saying, how did you get a free tier message? Venkat, even you will get that. A T2.micro instance type comes with a free tier account. Okay. So now, I just go ahead and click on Configure Instance Details. Now over here in the Configure Instance Details, you have to configure the networking and all those kind of things. Kamesh is saying sound is breaking. Guys, I'm not sure. Some people are not facing this trouble, some are not. Okay. So I would say that I just work with the support guys to see that if this can be fixed before our next session. It's breaking now. Okay. It's going worse or it's the same thing. Sound is breaking. Okay. What about other people? It's okay for Venkat and Tony. I'm not sure, guys, what's going on. Sometimes breaks, sometimes it's not. Guys, if most of you guys are facing the same trouble, we can discontinue the session and see if we can do it the next time. Because I don't want to adversely impact your understanding of the topics or the concepts. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's take a break for, let's suppose, 15 minutes. Let me just talk to the support guys again. So in the meantime, I'll just work with them. So let's take a break for 15 minutes. You guys can refresh yourself, have your dinner, or just take a little break. In next 15 to 20 minutes, let me see if we can just work upon this issue. Okay, so it's a break for 15 minutes. It can be up to 20 minutes depending upon how much time it takes, but I guess 15 minutes is more than enough. Please be back within 15 minutes and we'll just continue with our conversation. All right, thank you. Welcome back, guys. Sorry about I just get back later because I was working on support guys to fix whether the audio issue can be curbed or not. So I guess all people are back now. We can start our session. All right, cool. We were discussing the concept of EC2 where we are on step 3. Now, on the step 3 is where the real action begins because over here we have to discuss something called the VPC, subnets, IAM role, and all those kind of things, tenancy. Venkat, you want me to increase the font? Okay. Give me one moment over here. When I increase the font, actually, it will increase to a very high extent. Yeah, Venkat, I'm zoomed in right now. I think you also need to increase the size of your window. Okay, this zoom is fine. Thanks, Jose. So right now, if you can see over here, it is asking the number of instances, which means how many instances you want to launch in one single shot. By default, it is 1. I can increase it to 10, 100, it's up to me. I set to 1. On the right side, it says launch into auto-scaling group. What do you mean by that? See, auto-scaling group is a logical collection of identical instances. We'll discuss the auto-scaling later on. So right now, I'm not launching this instance to be a part of any auto-scaling group. Okay. Next, it is asking for the purchasing option. Purchasing option means that do you want to take this instance as a spot instance? Now, this instance that we are launching, it's called the on-demand. On-demand means that we should be billed by the hourly basis. If you can recall, we get 750 hours of EC2 running Linux and Windows instance. 750 hours. So this is called the on-demand instance. Spot means that you can go for the bidding. So we'll discuss the pricing models later on. So this is an on-demand instance, and I want that this instance should stay on-demand instance, so I will never ever check mark this option. Also, spot instances, which is more on the bidding, it never applies to the feature account. But we'll discuss the pricing details later on. Let's discuss the network. Network means that in which VPC do you want the instances to be launched. VPC stands for Virtual Private Cloud. See, what happens is that whenever you decide to launch your instances, in actuality what you're doing that you are launching your instance on a dedicated piece of the cloud that's called the VPC, the Virtual Private Cloud. This is your own isolated, dedicated network that you create on to the Amazon Web Services Cloud. Now, within the VPC, you have different subnets. For example, this is my subnet A, and this is my subnet B. And in an ideal situation, each subnet is associated to one of the availability zones. For example, on the left side, we have subnet A that is associated to availability zone A. On the right side, we have subnet B that is somewhere associated to my availability zone B. Now you launch your instances inside these subnets. It's a kind of a logical mapping. So you can imagine that this is a VPC, your entire cloud. You have logically isolated your subnet so that each subnet is associated to one of the AZs, and within each subnet you have the instances running. Now I just go in depth in the VPC later on, but right now we'll discuss our VPC, or we'll just focus on our core VPC EC2 concepts right now. Subnet, Kamish, your question is what is a subnet? Kamish, subnet is it's a concept of networking. It's I would say a block of IP addresses that contains your virtual machines. Okay. So right now, what I would do is I choose a VPC and I choose one of the subnets and the associated availability zone. The top subnet with this range, it is associated with my availability zone US West 1B. The second subnet is associated with the US West 1C. So someone is asking, we choose the region, how can we choose the availability zone? So this is the place from where you can just choose in which availability zone or the data center you want to launch your instances into. Right? So for example, I'll go with US West 1B, which means this instance that I'm just going to launch right now, it will be launched in the availability zone or the data center called US West 1B. If I choose no preference, it will pick any one of these two. Okay. Auto send public IP, I just keep it to default settings. Now, why I need the public IP? See, the thing is, whenever your instance gets launched, you get two types of IPs: private IP, and you get the public IP. Now, the private IP it gets from the range of the subnet. So this is the range of the subnet 172.31.0.0.0/20. Within this range, it will get or extract its private IP. Public IP is the one that has been given to you by the Amazon Web Services automatically. The role of the private IP is for the internal communication. The public IP is used for the communication across the public network called the internet. If I want to connect to my instance across the internet, I have to have this public IP. Right. So what I do is that I just keep it auto send public IP to as it is. IAM role is set to none. I'll keep it to none as of now because IAM is a separate topic. We'll discuss the IAM role later on, but as of now, we'll set it to none. Shutdown behavior. Shutdown behavior are of two types: stop and terminate. If I shut down my instance and I choose stop, which means I can stop it, start it, stop it, start it. But if I choose as terminate, terminating means that you would be killing your instance. If I terminate the instance, I can never get it back. It is completely wiped out, the entire data is lost, the entire instance is gone. Right? So by default, I will stick to the shutdown behavior as stopped. Venkat, your question is, are the stopped instance charged? No. Enable termination protection. Now, as I said before, if you terminate your instance by mistake or deliberately, you can never ever get it back. This is quite sure. Now, just in case any one of your architects or administrator may accidentally terminate one of the instances. In that case, you can choose this option so that if someone tries to accidentally, if someone by mistake is going to terminate that instance, he will not get the option. So if you click on this option called protect against accidental termination, any of the person cannot accidentally or by mistake terminate your instance. I will show you that option. Okay. Monitoring. Enable CloudWatch detailed monitoring. Now you have to keep one thing in mind. You will use the CloudWatch as your preferred and the default monitoring tool for the Amazon Web Services resources. It is for the monitoring. Also, it creates the alarms for certain events that trigger. So CloudWatch is used for monitoring and triggering the alarms. Now, the CloudWatch has two different flavors. The first flavor is called the standard one. This is a certification question that always comes up. Please make a note of it. The first flavor of CloudWatch is called the standard, which means it will monitor your instance after a gap of each 5 minutes. Right? It's called the standard. Sometimes it is also called the default. So the CloudWatch will monitor the performance of your instance after each 5 minutes. This is free. If you go with the CloudWatch standard or default monitoring, you don't have to pay even a single penny for getting your instances monitored. Now, in the monitoring, it will monitor the CPU utilization, disk utilization, disk read operations, disk write operations, network in, network out, and so on. The other flavor of CloudWatch is called the detailed. The detailed monitoring means that your instance would be monitored after a gap of each 1 minute. Sometimes this details is also called it as enhanced. Detailed or enhanced means that your instance will be monitored after a gap of each 1 minute, and this is a highly intensive monitoring. For that, you have to pay extra charges. Right? So if I keep this option as unchecked, it will come under the category of standard monitoring. If I check mark this option, then it will assume that it is a detailed monitoring. And for that, I have to pay additional charges. Subhajit is saying, will it hamper efficiency? No, Subhajit. It will not hamper efficiency, but yes, it will create a big hole in your pocket, because CloudWatch detailed monitoring is a costly option. Okay, because what happens is that CloudWatch is a resource. It makes an API call to your instance. Let's suppose this is your instance. The CloudWatch makes the API call to instance and gets the stats like CPU utilization, disk read operations, disk write operations, network in, network out, packets in, packet out. So the CloudWatch makes the API call to the instance and gets the details and show it to you. So the more API calls you make from the CloudWatch, it is quite obvious that it will increase the load on the infrastructure of the Amazon Web Services, but it will never impact the performance of instance, because CloudWatch is a separate entity. Since you are applying the more load between CloudWatch and instance, then in that case you're consuming too much of bandwidth. In that case, the Amazon Web Services, they charge you extra. Otherwise, the detailed monitoring never ever impacts the performance of your resources or virtual machines. Okay, so now I scroll down. The next thing that I have to choose is called the tenancy. What's a tenancy? Tenancy means that in what kind of environment you want to launch your instances into, whether it's a shared one or dedicated one. Tenancy are of two types. First one is called the shared. Shared tenancy means that, let's suppose that this is your entire physical host. It can be an HP box, an IBM, or a Dell server. This physical host is residing in one of the availability zones. If I choose shared tenancy, which means on the same physical host, these are the different virtual machines that may belong to different individuals and organizations. For example, let's suppose this belongs to Accenture, this belongs to JP Morgan, this belongs to HCL, this belongs to Wipro, this belongs to me. So different individuals and organizations, they run their virtual machines on a shared piece of hardware. It's a shared platform. One thing you keep in mind, these machines, they are isolated at hypervisor level. They can't interact with each other unless and until you have made some necessary provisions. But these instances are logically isolated and they run on a shared piece of hardware. Now this kind of tenancy is free. No charge for that. The other tenancy that you have to choose is called the dedicated. Dedicated tenancy means that you have this entire physical box, HP, IBM, or Dell. What you do is that you book this entire physical host and say that this is mine, which means that you are the only one who is authorized to launch your instances into this one. So all these virtual machines will belong to you. You will not allow any other individual or organization to launch his or her instances into this same physical host. This is called the dedicated tenancy, which means the entire physical host is dedicated to you. And yes, this comes with a price. In a normal situation, you have to pay $2 per hour extra if you go with a dedicated instance. Okay, so you book your entire physical host, you have to pay extra charges, and in that case, you book the entire physical host so that you are the only one to launch your virtual machine into the same physical host, and you won't allow any other individual or organization to use the same physical host. So you're running your instances or virtual machine on a dedicated piece of hardware. Okay, and this comes with a price. You have to pay additional charges. The question may be asked, why need to go with a shared or dedicated? Because some of the companies, due to some security and compliance requirements, they are not allowed to use a shared tenancy. For example, Oracle database servers never works on the shared tenancy. If you're running the Oracle database, you have to go with a dedicated tenancy. Okay, so depending upon your security and compliance requirements, all the applications that you want to run, you may have to go with a dedicated one. Okay, so Tony, I guess this answers your question. What's the advantage of the dedicated tenancy? Dedicated tenancy sometimes help few organizations to meet their security and compliance requirements, and some of the applications like Oracle, they never ever run on the shared tenancy. So in that case, you have to go for the dedicated one. All right. Venkat is saying practically every dedicated EC2 instance should be allocated to physical host for higher availability. Of course, Venkat, if you are running in the instances and yeah, practically if you have two physical hosts, then it will increase the chances of high availability. So I completely agree with your point that if you have all the instances running on the same physical host, if that physical server goes down, it is quite obvious that you will lose all the instances in one single shot. Okay. So of course, yes, this will impact your higher availability. I agree with you. Okay. So let's move forward now. I guess this is clear. Apart from this, we have to choose the network interfaces. With each and every instance that you launch, you get a default network interface associated to it. Okay, so these are the instance details that we have to configure. Ashutosh, the third tenancy is called the dedicated host. Dedicated host is the same as dedicated tenancy. The only difference is that you get more visibility in your physical host. Okay. So that's about the step 3. Any questions, any doubts regarding the steps or the concepts that I've covered so far? No? Venkat, more visibility means that you have the thing called affinity. You can see that, okay, in your physical host, how you are deploying your instances into, how many instances more you can launch. These kind of visibility you get. Not more metrics, but you get more in-depth overview of how your physical host is reacting to the number of instances deployed. Ashutosh, I'll discuss the purchasing option later on. Okay, so let's focus on what we're discussing right now. Okay, guys, I will really appreciate that once I'm discussing the topic, instead of deviating from the topic, please focus what I'm teaching right now, because once we're done with the topic, we have a lot many options and what topics we are discussing. Okay, so whenever I'm asking the questions, please put the questions regarding the concepts that I've discussed so that I can move forward. Okay. Regarding the purchasing option, Ashutosh, I'll discuss later on. Okay. So let's move forward now. We'll just click on add storage. What do you mean by add storage? Add storage means that this is the storage that will be associated to my instance. Now this works in a different way. In your own traditional model, if you have the same physical host, you have the storage embedded in the form of a solid state disk or a hard drive. Right? But the things go different when you go for the virtualization or you go for the cloud computing. Over here, this works in a different way. Let's suppose this is my EC2 instance. And what happens is, instead of having its in-house C drive or D drive, we have a thing called volume or EBS volume that we attach to this instance. This is associated to this instance, and a turning point is that both these two things are running on separate pieces of hardware. This EBS volume can be part of a SAN or NAS storage or disk-attached storage. This instance might be running on HP or IBM server. Even though this EBS volume is showing up as your C drive, your D drive, or root drive, but at the back end, it is a separate entity that is running on a separate piece of hardware. Now this gives you a tremendous opportunity. What kind of opportunity you can? Well, let's suppose if this instance goes down, still you can retain all the data stored in this volume, and you can associate this volume to any other running instance. because your entire data or the applications will be saved on this volume. So if your instance crashes, you can take out this volume and associate it to any running instance in the same availability zone. Right? Now by default, in the Linux instance, you get 8 GB of root volume. This is called the root volume. What's a root volume? Root volume contains your copy of AMI and all the operating system and program files. In Linux, you get 8 GB of root volume, whereas in Windows, you get 30 GB of root volume. You can add more volume to it from here. It's up to you. This is the device name. This is a snapshot ID. Snapshot is a copy of the volume, right? We'll discuss that later on. These are the 3 volume types. We'll discuss that later on. Depending upon what kind of applications you want to run, you choose the volume type. So once we discuss the EBS in detail, we'll discuss what these volume types mean. But over here, just an FYI, Provision IOPS gives you the highest performance, Magnetic gives you the lowest performance, and General Purpose SSD is the middle between the Provision IOPS and the Magnetic. This is called the IOP. IOP stands for Input Output Performance. This showcases that how much random read and write operations you can carry on, or input and output operations you can carry on this certain volume. Okay. Delete and termination. If I uncheck this option, even if I terminate my instance, this volume will never be deleted. This gives me an opportunity that if I terminate the instance, still I can retain the entire volume and the data stored on that. So I check mark this option right now as of now. Click on tag instance. Now tagging instance means that you can, for the documentation purpose, you can tag your instance. For example, I just name it as Linux instance. So this is just for the tagging or the documentation purpose. Kuram, input or output performance IOPS means that how many random read and write operations you can carry on a volume, right? Because whenever you access a volume or a hard drive or a solid state disk, depending upon its performance, you can perform multiple read and write operations on that. So IOPS means that how many frequent random read and write operations you can encounter or carry on a certain volume. Okay, it's called IOPS. Venkat is saying, is the tag name as a host name? You can say that, Venkat. Shiva is saying tag name is universal. Can other user launch when give the same tag name? Of course, Shiva, the thing is tag name is just for our documentation purpose. Right? So it is just for our understanding that if we have, for example, 1,000 instances running on the dashboard, we can easily segregate that which instance belongs to which category, just for our documentation purpose. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and click on Configure Security Group. Now, what's a security group? Security group is a group of it's a set of firewall rules that controls the traffic for your instance. See, what happens is that you deploy your instance in the AWS cloud, right? Now, you may have some users sending the traffic to your instance, or this instance may revert to the users. So this means this is both your inbound and the outbound traffic. Now, for the security reasons, it is quite essential that you have to have a strict control that what kind of traffic can reach your instance, which means the inbound traffic, and what kind of traffic can leave your instance, which means the outbound traffic. Because for the security reasons, you cannot allow all the traffic hitting your instances. Otherwise, you would be exposing your instances to some potential threats like distributed denial of service attacks, man-in-the-middle attacks, packet sniffing, IP spoofing. So there's certain kind of attacks that can happen if you allow all kinds of traffic hitting your virtual machines. It can be your database servers. So upon your database, there's so much confidential of your customers' confidential data is being stored. So you can't have your database instances just get the traffic from anywhere. So to control that what kind of traffic can reach or leave my instance, I apply a set of firewall rules called the security group. Now, I can define the security group for both at the inbound and the outbound level. This thing over here, I can define my inbound traffic. I'll show you how to define the outbound traffic later on, but right now, this entire thing is for the inbound, which means what kind of traffic can reach my instances from the outside. Over here, what I'll do is I'll just create a new security group, or if you have the security groups created before, you can just click on select and you can select any one from the list. What I'll do is I'll just create a new one. I'll just name it as Linux SG, stand for security group, and just for the documentation purpose, I'll just type in the description. So I just type in the security group name, the description. Now I need to define what kind of inbound traffic can reach my instance. Now this is a Linux instance. By default, if you want to log into a Linux machine remotely, you will use a protocol called SSH, that stands for Secure Shell. By default, SSH always communicates over TCP port 22. You can't change the protocols and ports, so you can choose that what kind of ports and protocols you want to allow for the inbound traffic. So I choose SSH over TCP port 22, and the source would be by default anywhere. Now what do you mean by that's anywhere? This means anywhere means 0.0.0.0/0. This means any IP across the internet can perform an SSH session towards my instance. SSH means that I would be giving the root access to any of the IPs across the internet, which is quite dangerous. You can see the warning message over here. Rules with source 0.0.0.0/0 allow all the IP addresses to access your instance. We recommend setting security group rules to allow access from known IP addresses only. So in an ideal situation, you will never ever allow the SSH from all the sources for your Linux instances. If it was a Windows, then it would be the RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol. So RDP is for the Windows, and SSH is for the Linux. So what I will do is I will choose my IP. It will automatically choose my IP address of my computer right now, which means I will be the only one authorized to perform the SSH session towards this Linux instance that I'm going to launch right now. Or I can choose a custom IP. So I can just copy this one. I can choose a custom IP. I can choose custom. I can define, for example, let's suppose 56. Or I can define the entire IP address range like /24. This may belong to, this entire IP address range may belong to my office. So I want that any person from my office where my administrators or architects sit should perform an SSH session towards this instance. Okay, either I can choose anywhere, which is not recommended, or I choose custom, which means I can define a particular IP address or a CIDR range, or I can choose my IP. This will automatically populate the IP address of my machine right now. Let's take another example. Guys, let's come to your questions later on. Let's suppose that this is your Amazon Web Services Cloud. It is your AWS VPC. This is the Linux instance that we're going to launch right now. Now, you want that only the known IP addresses, for example, this is my IP address, this is me, this is my IP address. From this IP address, I'm the only one to initiate the SSH session towards it. Now, there's another twist over here. Upon this Linux instance, I have deployed a WordPress site. Therefore, I expect that users across the globe, across the internet, will send the web traffic, which means they will send across HTTP and HTTPS traffic. So I want to segregate in such a way that the users can send the HTTP and the HTTPS traffic to my instances to browse the websites or the web server hosted on this Linux instance, and the root access is with me. So I would allow the HTTP and the HTTPS traffic from all the sources, which means 0.0.0.0/0, and I will give the root access only to this IP, because root access means anyone can make changes to my server. But if I give the HTTP and HTTPS access to all the IPs, they can just browse the web pages. They can't make any changes to the server working at the back end. This is how I can use the security group to segregate my traffic judicially and wisely. Security group is the first and the most important step towards facilitating the security for your instances. You can't ignore that. Okay. Now what I will do is I will simulate this example. I will say that if the HTTP and the HTTPS traffic needs to come, it should from all the sources. So the root access is with me, but the HTTP and the HTTPS access is for all the people across the internet. Right. I suppose that this is quite clear. Any questions, any doubts, feel free to let me know. Venkat, your question is, can I provide an IP address range? Of course, Venkat, I've already shown that. Raj is saying my Amazon Linux instance is up and running. That's good. Venkat, your question is there a specific reason for creating a new security group? Specific reason for creating a new security group? So Venkat, I've already said that. The reason for creating a new security group means that you can define your policies or the rules from scratch. So Venkat, the inbuilt AWS security group will not contain the ports and the protocols of your choice. Okay. Ashutosh, your question is, does it mean that users coming with this IP range can only access the application? Yes, Ashutosh. IP address, see, if I'm saying 0.0.0.0.0/0, which means any IP across internet can access my web application hosted on this Linux instance. But the root or the SSH access is given to unknown IP only. So Bajit, your question is if my system is behind the UTM and I'm using the private IP address, then whether we have to mention my public IP or the private IP. I guess, Subhajit, in that case, we'll use the public IP. Subhash, your question is, can I use my existing AD security combined with the AWS security? Subhash, we can do that, but I don't think that it would be applicable, because Active Directory security, it works at the application level. So I don't think that it will somehow work with the AWS security. Yes, you may integrate some kind of third-party application tools, but I'm not sure whether AD security can be combined with that. Ashutosh, your question is, are these IP range people can access RDP? Ashutosh, unless and until I define the RDP, no one can get access to it, right? So what happens in the security group is that if for example, I haven't mentioned RDP over here, right? So if I haven't mentioned RDP over here, it means that this protocol is not allowed at all. So only the protocols that I allow in the list would be entertained. Okay. Kuram, your question is, if we create a separate group for HTTP and HTTPS and assign this special group to our business users, does that make sense? Kuram, the thing is that this security group, this works at the instance level, right? It never ever works at the user level, right? So the security group that we are creating right now, it is purely intended to be applied to your virtual machines. Okay. So assigning it, creating a special group and assigning to the business users, it is not applicable over here. Ashutosh, your question is, my scenario is that I have a WordPress website which I want any users to use a WordPress. In that case, what is the preference I should put in the source? Of course, Ashutosh will allow HTTP and HTTPS access. See, WordPress is a blog platform, right? Over here, we are not allowing any access on the application level. We are just allowing what kind of traffic can reach our instance. So if you want that any of your users access your WordPress site, or even they can make any changes on the console on the WordPress, still you will allow HTTP and HTTPS access from all the sources. Okay. Tony, your question is, can I say the security group is like a firewall router settings we configure? You can say that. Shiva, you're saying, can we do multiple security groups? Of course, Shiva, we can have, or we can assign multiple security groups to the same instance. Azhar, your question is, if I want to download some software from the internet on my Linux machine, I need to have the HTTP and HTTPS access, right? Yes, Azhar. But that would be just, you will need the HTTP and the HTTPS access both from the inbound and the outbound level so that you can download the software. You're right. Okay. So now, what I would do is, I'll just go, now these are the inbound rules that I've defined. Once I launch the instance, I will show you the outbound rules as well. I click on review and launch. Over here, I can review all the options. Now I click on launch over here. Now the last step that you have to follow is to select an existing key pair or a new key pair. What's that? See, a key pair is a kind of, you can say, an authentication method so that a person with an appropriate key can sign on to your Windows or Linux instance. See, in your, I'm not sure whether I can take an example. I guess some of us have already seen how the lockers in the bank work. In your bank, we have the lockers. In those lockers, we keep our valuables, jewelry, money, whatever we can keep. Now, how the lockers are being unlocked? One key is with you, and the other key is with the bank official. So you go to the bank, you take the bank official with you to the room where you have the locker. You put your own key, twist it, you ask the bank official to do the same. If the key matches, you can open your locker and you can just take out your valuables. It's the same thing over here. There are two keys. This combination of two keys is called a key pair. What happens is that there's a public key that is being stored by Amazon Web Services. This public key is embedded into the AMI of your instance. The next key is called the private key file that you store on your desktop or computer or local machine. So when these two public and private keys are combined in the right way, then you are authenticated and you can sign on and get the root access to your instances. Let me show you. So I have three options. Either I choose an existing key, or I create a new one, or I can proceed without a key pair. I can proceed without a key pair, but it will never allow me to get access to the instance. So for this example, I will say create a new key pair, and I'll name this as web server -kp. This is the name of the private key file that I will save on my desktop. Now I'll just go ahead and click on download the key pair. Now this will download a copy of the private key on my desktop. You can see over here. This is the private key. It's an algorithm. Same public and private key works during your banking transactions online. So this key is being saved in my downloads folder on my Mac. So I need to drag and drop that on my desktop. And this is in the .pm format. So I just rename it and just add Kubernetes in that .pm format. I will use this key to get the root access to my Linux instance. So now, what I will do, I'll just go ahead and click on Launch Instances. Okay, it is saying that you already have the same security group created. Give me 1 second over here. I'll just name it as Linux security group, launch. So right now, my instance is in the process of getting launched, and this is the instance ID. With each and every instance, you get a unique instance ID. So right now, you can see that this instance is pending at this point of time. In the meantime, let me show you a few important details. This is the instance ID. It is pending right now. Right, it is pending. And if I scroll down, I can see that this is the private IP, the private DNS. This private IP is got from the subnet range within which this instance was launched. This is the private DNS. This helps for the internal communication. This is the VPC ID, subnet ID, default network interface ETH0, root device name, that's the EBS volume, or the storage associated to my instance. Just on the right side, I have the public DNS and the public IP. The public IP and the public DNS will allow the access to the internet across internet. I repeat, the public DNS and public IP will allow the access to the instance across internet. If I have the public IP aligned to the instance, it can send and receive the traffic through the internet. So if I scroll down, this is the availability zone that I've launched in my instance into. This is my security group. So I can click on this Linux security group, and this will take me to the security group dashboard. Now these are the inbound rules that I have defined. I can go to the outbound tab. By default, it allows all the traffic at the outbound. If I want to control that what kind of traffic can leave my instance, I can just click on edit, and I can restrict the traffic at the outbound level as well. Okay, but I'll just keep it as it is, and I'll define my inbound rules. Okay, you can see the launch date and time. This is your account ID, the key pair that you've used to launch this instance. In the monitoring tab, I discussed about the CloudWatch. Once this instance is up and running, I can see all these statistics of this instance in the graphical format. CPU utilization, disk reads, disk read operations, disk write operations, disk writes, network in, network out, network packets in, okay, CPU credit balance, and all these kind of things. Right. Status checks, which means that whether the instance is reachable or not. Right now, this instance is initializing. Once it shows 2x2 checks, then it means that it is up and running now. So right now, it's installing all the. You can see we're getting 2x2 checks now because it has installed the AMI operating system applications and services, which means now this instance is live. This is up and running. You can see over here 2x2 checks. Right. So now what I will do is I'll just go ahead and get the access to this instance. Now for the people who are using Mac, you'll be using the terminal to access your instance. So let me just go to my desktop. Let's perform the LSLA. So this is the web server kp.pem file that I will be using to get the SSH access to my Linux instance. So the command goes as SSH. Now this is for the people who are using OS X Mac, right? Not for the Windows one. SSH -i. Then you have to type in the name of your key, web server -kp.pem space, type in the name, the user ID of your instance. Now how you get the user ID? Hit on connect while selecting your instance, and you can just select Java SSH client. You can see this is your user ID, EC2-user. Now, whenever you use the Amazon Linux AMI as your to boot your instance from, this is the default user ID, EC2-user. So let's copy this one. I go over here and just type in EC2-user @ now I type in the public IP of my instance. It says, are you sure you want to continue connecting? Yes. And now I think it should connect this now. Okay, it's saying permission denied public key. Okay, sometimes we have to change the permissions of the key. So this type in as chmod 400 web server -kp.pem. Okay, so now this will work. Okay, so we are logged into our Linux instance, and we're going to see if we can just run the updates. Sudo yum update, and we can download the patches. So this is how we use a Mac terminal to get the SSH access to our Linux instance. All right. Now for the Windows one, you will use a standalone client called PuTTY. Okay. Tony, your question is from where we can see the username. Tony, you just go to Actions, just select your Linux instance, hit on Connect, and just choose Java SSH client. From here you can see the username, this one. Right? Guess we have some more questions. Raj, 2x2 checks means that your instance has passed the reachability, it's up and running, and now it is live. Chrome is saying, can you please highlight where to check the used IOPS? Chrome over here, if you scroll down in the discrete operations and discrete operations, you can see the input and output operations. And the unused IOPS you can see in the CPU credit usage and the balance. Okay. Okay, so this is for the Mac. You have to use the terminal to get access to your Linux instance. Now for the Windows, you have to use a standalone client called PuTTY. However, before you can use PuTTY to get access to your Linux instance, you have to use PuTTYGen to convert the .pem file to .ppk. Because what happens is that this file that is saved on my Mac PC, this one, this is a .pem file. PEM. The PuTTY never accept the extension of this file. I have to convert that into .pem to .ppk. So I go back to my Windows, and what I will do is I will open PuttyGen. Please see the steps. This is called Putty Key Generator. PuttyGen and Putty you can just download free from the internet. You open the Putty Key Generator, go to File, and just click on Load Private Key. So now I just go to my desktop. Hang on one second, please. I choose my key in the .pem format. It imports this key. Now, once I import this key, I click on Save Private Key. It says, are you sure you want to save this key without a passphrase to protect it? I would say yes. And I will save this key in the .pbk format. Okay, so you can see save as type Putty private key files .pbk. I hit save. Give me 1 second over here. Where did I save that? Okay, it got saved. I'm sorry. So over here you can see that this got saved. This is the .pbk format. Now I can use this key to get access to my instance using Putty. I open Putty. First thing first, I need to copy and paste the host name or the IP address of my instance. So I go back. Either I copy and paste the public IP or I copy and paste the public DNS. So let me just copy and paste the public IP. Paste it over here. By default, the port will be 22, and you will choose SSH. Now, you have to go on the left side. On the left side, you have this plus sign, just left to SSH. Click on this plus sign. Scroll down. Select AUTH. Now you have to browse the .pbk file that you just converted, and now click Open. So now this connects you to the instance. You'll get the window login as, type in the user ID EC2-user. And now you're connected to your Linux instance using Putty. That's it. Any questions or doubts? So in the Linux instance, we use a key file to get the root access to a Linux instance directly. The key file that I'm referring to is this one. This helped us to get the root access to a Linux instance directly. Raj, there's no default root password over here. We have to set it up over here. There's no root password for the Linux over here. Venkat, the IPs that the public IPs, if I'm referring to, these are dynamic in nature. The public IPs. Ashutosh was saying same steps will work for Windows instance. I mean, we need to confirm by Putty. No, Ashutosh, the steps are same, but the way we access the Windows will be different. Kamesh is saying if a mistake, I delete my key, is it way to get back? No, Kamesh, you can never get it back. Okay. So now I'll launch a Windows instance real quick. And I'll show you what's the difference getting into a Linux instance and a Windows instance. So what I'll do is I'll click on Launch Instance. The only thing that will differ would be the security group rules and the AMI. So I'll choose the Windows Server 2012 as my preferred AMI. And now I'll just go with the T-Drive micro instance type. I'll keep all these settings to default. Add storage. By default, you get 30 GB of root volume with your Windows instance. Tag instance. I'll just name it as Windows instance right now. I click on Configure Security. I create a new one. I just do something in the description. Just type in over here. So once I type in the group name and the description, I will allow RDP traffic from my IP only. Okay. So all the steps are the same, but the thing is, for the getting the root access to your Windows instance, you will use RDP. Ashutosh is saying screen is not refreshing. I'm not sure, Ashutosh. Guys, I think the screen is moving on for you guys. It's good. I think Ashutosh, you have to check from your side. It's okay now. Okay. So now I'll just go ahead and click on Review and Launch. I can choose the same key pair. You can use the same key pair to get access to your Windows instance. Launch the instance. Now let's wait for the Windows instance to launch up and see what's the difference now. See, for the people who are using Mac or OS X, they have to download this software called Microsoft Remote Desktop. Let me show you that. This one, for the people who are using Mac or OS X, this is a tool that helps you to get a remote access to the Windows server or Windows machine. So I'll create. So what I'll do is once you download this software, hit new, and you have to name your connection over here. I'll just name it as Windows server. Now you have to type in your IP address or the host name in the PC name. So I'll just copy and paste this public DNS. In the username and the password, I will let you know what it would be. Okay. So let's wait for this instance to boot up, then we can see what it means to be done. Windows takes a little bit more time as compared to Linux. Rangareddy, your question is, can I make my public IP static? Rangareddy, you can do that. You can make your public IP static by using a concept called elastic IPs. We'll discuss that. Venkat, your question is, how can I retain the public IP even after I reboot the machine? Venkat, if you reboot the machine, the public IP would be gone. You can never ever get it back. The only solution for it is the elastic IP. That is a static public IP. We'll discuss that. Okay. Shiva saying, did you launch the instance in another AZ? No, Shiva, it's the same one. US West 1P. So right now this instance is getting launched. We have to wait for a few more seconds. Shiva is saying you didn't see Linux machine. The reason being, Shiva, because there's a filter on the top. If I remove this filter on the top, now you can see the Linux machine. That's the reason. Okay, so I guess we are almost in right now. It is initializing. Guys, I'm going to give you two different assignments so that for this week you can do some of the deployments of applications from your side. All right, give me one moment over here. Just create a new folder. I'm just creating a separate folder for you guys where I'll just put all the assignments for you. Okay, so let's create a folder right now at Eureka's 30th July batch. I create a new subfolder for assignments for you. Okay, let's create that. Now I'll give you 2 or 3 different assignments for you to work upon. Hang on one second, please. See, this is your first assignment where you have to launch your own Linux machine. This thing, let me show you that. This PDF file contains the screenshots with each and every step how to launch your Linux instance. However, this also will have you install a simple application, a simple PHP web application, right? So it contains the step-by-step instructions, and you have to deploy a website on your own. Okay, so this is your first assignment. The second assignment that I will be giving you would be you have to deploy a WordPress site on the Windows platform. Let me show you that. It contains the step-by-step instructions how to deploy a WordPress site upon the Windows platform. So I've mentioned each and every step, the screenshots, everything. You have to follow this document. Okay? So these are the 2 assignments that you have to do in this week. Okay, and these are the code and scripts used in the assignment. Let me just copy this one. Just hang on one second, please. Let me just remove them. Okay, so I'm just copying and pasting this thing. These are 3 items. Copy. Okay, so these are the 3 items I've pasted in the shared folder, and let me give you the access to it. So this is the link for you. From here, you can just download all the contents that I will give it to you. You have to go to the assignments folder within that, and you can access the. Once you open this link, for example, if it's open, then it's on my Safari. Once you go to this link right now, you can see the folders are called assignments over there, and from there, you can access the assignments that I've given to you for this week. 2 assignments, you have to launch a simple application on the Linux instance, and also you have to deploy a WordPress blog on your Windows instance. Okay. Okay, for the yesterday's assignment, let me give one thing. Yesterday was nothing that much, so but still, if you're insisting. It is just how to create a billing alarm, right? So I'm just copying this one and pasting over here in the assignments, right? Let me just create. So this is for the session 2, for the second session, and this assignment is for the session 1. Right? So you can access the assignments on this shared drive. All right. As I was saying, will this assignment be on our Adorica login? Also, no, Azure. This is my extra effort. These are not. They don't belong to Adorica. So they are not on your Adorica LMS. You can also perform the assignment on the Adorica and these assignments as well. Okay. Raj, you should be able to open because I've given the access to all. Guys, could you please say that if all you're able to log in? Kuram, I've uploaded it to the right folder because if I just go back, you can see over here I have the assignments over here. Let me just share the link again, just in case. I click on share. This is the link. I'm sharing with you again. All right. It is accessible. All right. Good. Okay, Raj, I'm just putting you off the mute right now. Yes, Raj, I'll just put you off the mute.
Yeah, Ron, if you go to Google Drive, if you see assignments and I see session 1 and session 2, but nothing there. It says drop the files here or use the new button.
I'm not sure other people are able to access. Give me 1 second over here. Hang on 1 second, please. Right now, it's getting synced up. It will take some time. Might be. You can see it's singing right now. Because few people can see.
Okay, now I'm able to see now. Assignment 3. The billing alert.
Okay.
Setting up the billing alert, I'm never able to see the document now.
And what about session 2?
No, nothing yet in that.
Okay.
Maybe it's taking some time to upload, maybe.
I think yeah, it's taking some time to, you can see that it's refreshing on my side as well. So it's taking its own time to refresh. Let's see, because I would be logging into the Windows instance. I'll take another 10 minutes. In the meantime, the files will get synced up. Okay. So Rajesh, I've just put you on the mute again. We'll see after 5 or 10 minutes if we can, all the people can access this file. Or let me do one thing. Let me give the individual links for the files just in case you can't access them. Just in case. So I'll give you a link for this file. This one. Right. I go back now and get shareable link. Share. I'm not sure why it's not syncing with for you, otherwise it works properly. Okay, session 2, Kuram is saying it is acceptable with the contents. You're good now. Good. So Raj, I guess after a few seconds or minutes you will be able to see, because other people are able to see their contents now. Okay. It takes some time sometimes to sync. Okay. So please do the assignments. Now we can just go ahead and log into a Windows instance. So let's move back and open my Microsoft Remote Desktop. Oh, I'm sorry. So now I need to type in the user ID and password. For the Windows, you have to decrypt the user ID and password. Hit on connect on the Windows on the top. The user ID would be the administrator. Just a second, please. So the user ID would be the administrator, and for the password, I need to go back and click on Get Password. Now you have to choose the PM file that is saved on your desktop, and click on Decrypt Password. Now this is the first time initial password, or you can use the same password every time you need to sign into your Windows without using the private key file every time. So I copy this one, paste the password, and now I can log into my Windows instance. It will take some time. Let's wait. Raj, you're saying which version of Windows we have to install for the assignment? Raj, it should be Windows Server 2012. And I think, I'm not sure because I created this assignment 2 weeks ago. It should be mentioned over there. Over here we use Venkat.pm file, because .ppk only works with PuTTY. Over here we use the .pm file. Okay. Kamesh, I didn't use the PPT today that much, so I'm not sure whether it will be of a benefit of you, because on the other half of the session we use the I just use the AWS Member Console. Okay. So that the PPT slide that I showed you, it's not that much structured. Okay, so we are logged into Windows Server 2012 now. So this is our Windows Server 2012. Now, for the Windows guys, how you can log in? I'm opening my Windows PC right now. For the Windows guys, how to log into Windows Server 2012? So what you need to do is you have to. I'm just opening my AWS Management Console over here. So there are two ways. Either you open your Windows, choose or select your Windows instance, hit on connect, and you can click on download the remote desktop file. Or you just go to Windows search bar, type in RDP, remote desktop connection. It is asking for the computer name. I'm not sure it will accept that. So the computer name, you have to just type in your public DNS or the public IP. Hit connect. It asks for the username and password. Copy the administrator username, paste it over here. In the password, click on get password, decrypt it, and just copy this one, go back and paste. Hit OK. So now this is how you connect to your Windows server from your Windows PC. So I guess you can now see the difference. In the Linux machine, you get the root access directly, but for the Windows, you decrypt a password. That's the difference. All right. All right. Let me do one more thing. I'm just creating a different section for slides. And I'm just copying and pasting the slide over here that I used today. Alright guys, so I guess you have access to the folder now. You can access all the contents, slides, and the assignment that I give it to you. Okay, please do these assignments. They are quite important. In the session 1, the first assignment is creating a billing alert. And the second assignment is, in the second session, you have to create a Linux instance, a web instance, a website using a script, and also the second assignment includes deploying a WordPress site on your Windows instance. And these are the codes and scripts that will be used. Let me show you that. In the deployment of your Linux instance. This one. All right. So Kamesh, I've already dragged and dropped the PPT slide to the same location. You can download from there. Venkat, it will take some time for the assignments to show up. I'm not sure why. For few people, it's showing up. So I guess after some time, you can see that those assignments. Okay. Tony, I gave my email address yesterday. I'm giving it again, just in case if you need any help, you can send me the email. Guys, today I was planning to discuss a few more concepts, but because of the voice cutting issue, I was not able to cover those concepts. I really apologize for that. So I'll ensure that in our next week, I cover those topics that I was intending to cover today itself. But today we still will discuss the concept of regions, availability zones, edge locations, EC2, security groups, key pairs, EBS volumes, tenancy, CloudWatch flavors. So we have discussed brief concepts of the EC2. and the elasticity. All right. So the agenda for our next week would be, we'll cover the elastic IP versus public IP, ENI, CLI, load balancer, auto scaling. So these are the concepts we're going to discuss in our next session. Okay. Between that, I will just work with the support guys and see that if this kind of problem does not erupt in the future going forward, the voice cutting and the audio problems. All right. So guys, it's my humble request, please do the assignment. It's quite important because you will get an in-depth understanding and the overview of all these concepts. Kamesh, AMI creation, I'll discuss that once we do the EBS, because AMI creation also includes the snapshot creation. So once we cover the Elastic Block Store, I'll discuss that. Okay. Anything, guys, you want to add before I just wind up? Raj, you're saying, can we have our own AMIs? Yes, Raj, we can have our own AMIs, but there's a process of creating that. So I will show you the steps how to create our own AMIs once we discuss the EBS or Elastic Block Store in our third week. We'll discuss that. Okay. Or let me show you. If you are assisting, it's a very simple thing. How to create your AMIs. Once you launch your instance, select your instance that contains all the application services you want to run. Go to Actions, go to Image, and click on Create Image. Simple. This will create your image. You have to go to your AMIs on the left side, and you can see your AMIs over here. Apart from that, it will also create the snapshots or a copy of the volumes. All right. But I'll just go in depth once we discuss the EBS. Just an FYI. Okay. So, Subhajit, your question is, should we stop the EC2 after completion of the project? Of course, Subhajit. The best thing is that once your instances, once your project is completed, select the instances, go to Actions, Instance State, stop them. If you terminate them, you can never get it back, or you can just simply stop them. Then you will not be charged. Okay. Wrong identity questions: can we migrate the Oracle database to Amazon Web Services? If which AWS service we need to use? Wrong-already, if we have to migrate our Oracle database to the Amazon Web Services Cloud, we'll use the first thing first, we use the database migration service over here, use the DMS, and we'll migrate the Oracle database to the RDS, Relational Database Service. So DMS and the RDS are the two services we're going to use. Okay. So guys, that's it for today. Thank you so much for your time and patience. Please practice, revise the concepts, and I'll make sure that the audio problem gets rectified, because today our half an hour was wasted because of that. So we'll work upon that, and I just work with the support guys to see what's going on in the back end. Okay. Of course, Kamesh will work on that. Thank you so much, guys. And last but not the least, please fill the feedback form after this session gets over. Okay. Goodbye. Bye-bye.